thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Weekend.
I'm a champ.
Week.
Yes. Good morning, you guys. It is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, you guys. And today is, Nate, you're making a lot of noise, Nate. Today is,
sorry so much.
It's National Polka Dot Day today, you guys.
Oh, polka dots. I put on the wrong shirt.
Yes. Do you have a polka dot shirt, Stone?
No, I don't.
We're gonna have to have a wardrobe.
You, Stone.
We're gonna have to have a wardrobe change, Stone.
I'm not sure if polka dots deserve a day.
Did you say polka docs? That's funny.
Polka what?
Polka docs.
No, not polka dots.
Oh man. It's also National Blonde Brownie Day.
What?
I don't hate a blonde brownie.
Blonde brownies, blondies. You know what I mean? You don't know what those are, Dale?
I know what I had daughters in brownies. I get that. So we're talking about a
No. We're not.
brownies?
No. It's easy there, Dale. Easy there, buddy.
We're not talking about blonde little girls.
No, Dale. No. We're talking about it's a dessert, Dale. You know what I mean? It's a dessert, very popular.
With white chocolate or what? Let me just make sure I'm understanding here.
All right, hold on.
If I'm not mistaken, it's a
chocolate cake, right?
yeah, it's like shortbread yellow cake cross almost. That's called a brownie, and you put brownie like things in it, like nuts or chocolate chips and stuff.
Hold on a second, guys.
Well,
I'm going to give you
one every once in a while.
I'm going to give you guys the real breakdown, okay? Just because I know you guys need stuff like this in your life. You know what I mean?
We go deep on the important stories.
Yeah.
Jason knows what we need. That's right.
That's what I do. That's what I specialize in. Things people need.
I'd heard that.
Always have my whole life. It's just a factual reality. All right, here we go.
Statement.
National Blondie Brownie Day. Almost everyone knows that a blonde brownie is similar to a chocolate brownie. In place of cocoa, bakers use brown sugar when making this delicious brownie, giving it a sweet, tooth-satisfying molasses flavor.
Yeah.
Most people like to add white chocolate or chocolate chips to their blonde brownies, or other things like nuts, toffee, or butterscotch. Blonde brownies are usually prepared unfrosted, as the brown sugar flavor tends to be sweet enough, and the blondies are sometimes served in sundaes, often topped with caramel sauce. While enjoying a blonde brownie would count toward celebrating the day, and that may be much too simple, but blonde brownies also make a delicious addition to any layered trifle dessert. Add a scoop of ice cream to a freshly baked blonde brownie and top with your favorite sizzurp. If you prefer the lighter side, serve a blonde brownie with a serving of fresh fruit. Pineapple, cherries, or apricots seem appropriate. How about that, Dale?
Well, now I'm hungry.
Yes.
TMI.
I think you just found a new calling right there, Jason. Yeah, that was call the Haagen-Dazs people, man. They want your voice.
Hey, man, my voice is a hot commodity. You know what I'm saying?
You made a blonde brownie sound better than a blonde brownie is. Sir.
It's you know, just so you know, Nate, I'm the voice of reason, bro. It's what we do over here. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Let's see. You know what else today? Two of my favorite days of the year. Two of my favorite days of the year, Stone Slade. Are you ready?
Tell me. Mm-hmm.
National Sanctity of Human Life Day.
Good day. Better than Polka Dot Day.
And National Celebration of Life Day today.
Let's go.
Yes, celebrate life. Yeah. Down with Planned Parenthood and celebrate life. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about?
That's what it is. That's what it's all about. It's all about life and not abortions. That's what the days are about.
Life.
Celebrate life. Celebrate life. Celebrate life. Stop killing babies. But anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high at noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone join us from any one of those platforms. And Stone, I have some sad news for you today, buddy.
What is it?
Your favorite weed store.
Which one?
That's right. The one that you like to shop at and get all your Delta 8 at, because Oklahoma orders a Tulsa dispensary to close over unlicensed marijuana, Stone.
Oh, no.
Yes. State regulators say an inspection found more than 100 products from an unlicensed processor, unreported inventory, and items unsafe for consumption. Oklahoma regulators have ordered a Tulsa medical marijuana dispensary to stop operating after an investigation found multiple violations of state law, including marijuana products from an unlicensed processor. The Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority said the action involves Bad Guys Dispensary, located near 49th West Avenue at Charles Page Boulevard. Unlicensed marijuana products that were found, according to the OMA investigators, they discovered 133 products at the dispensary that were produced by a processor that does not hold a state license. State law requires all marijuana products sold in licensed dispensaries to come from properly licensed growers and processors. And the OMA said the violations prompted an immediate order for the dispensary to cease operations. Products deemed unsafe for consumption because the OMMA identified the following marijuana products as unsafe, or basically saying that they came from illegal operations identified as OK Farms and RX Harvest Botanicals. They found products called the Granddaddy Purple, Strawberry Bubbles, Purple Afghani, Double Cup, Wedding Cake, Animal Mints, Gelato, Purple Kush, Papaya, White Truffle, Cinderella, Banana Baby Runts, Gelato Cake, and Peanut Butter Breath. The state officials said the products were not properly tagged in the state inventory tracking system, meaning required testing could not be confirmed. Patients who purchase these products are advised to dispose of them and contact a physician if they experience any adverse health effects. Inventory tracking violations because the investigation also found several pounds of marijuana products that were not reported to the state seed to sale inventory tracking system. All licensed dispensaries in Oklahoma are required to track cannabis from cultivation through processing and final sale, and the system is intended to ensure regulatory compliance and prevent illegal diversion. But what happens next? The authority said the investigation remains ongoing. And man, these are some bad hombres out in Oklahoma, or Toklahoma. Stone, is this a shop that you used to shop at? Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Oh, they're called bad boys?
They're called the bad boys, bro. People tell you who they are. They tell you who they are. Oh, man.
Oh, wow. That's beyond parody.
Right? What's that, Stone?
That's beyond parody right there.
It is.
I can't even believe that that a story like that exists. I had, at first when I was hearing that, I was about to take the side of the dispensary because within the distribution systems, how easy is it, and I mean not knowing if they're of course vertically integrated, how easy is it for somebody to sneak something in through an otherwise kind of blind distro system. And so I was ready to give them the benefit of the doubt. But then noting that they had numerous items that were not on the track and trace system, it sounds like somebody kind of just played with fire right there. It sucks, but at the same time, good. Something should be ultimately determined to be whether or not it's a state regulated product, or if it is not regulated, if it's not something that falls within the ability to batch or the ability to hold somebody accountable if somebody gets sick. That's kind of necessary, in my opinion. Virtually every product in the U.S., even those generally sold through gas stations, if you hurt or kill somebody, you're supposed to be accountable. That's because of responsible batching and regulation systems that are out there. So, for somebody to try to take something that shouldn't be in that system and try to pass it off in that system sounds a lot like play with fire kind of stuff. What do you guys think?
I had the same question Fundamentals had. I was wondering if that was Sylvester Stallone's dispensary up there in Oklahoma. Tulsa King.
Tulsa King, that's right. Yeah. Well, I
agree with everything you said, Nate, for sure, 100%.
This is not rocket science. It's happened every place I've stuck my nose in. Is that you're struggling to pay your bills, and some guy drives up with a truckload of shit from California, find a way to stick it into your inventory and make some money off it. What should happen to him? You're right, Nate. We're trying to get this tested so we know if there's really bad stuff in it. But the testing system's even a joke, because if you go to the grocery store and test things that they sell there for you to consume, you might be shocked at what the hell's in that stuff.
Yeah. For what it's worth, though, that's those, we call them action limits, right? You're allowed to have so much in it. So you point out a great point that in very similar types of products, even like cannabis edibles, to the exact same kind of food, and you look at the pesticide levels that are allowed, and you're floored when you find out that certain chemicals are 5 to even 10,000 times sometimes more relaxed than in cannabis. But I hate to say this to the lawyer, but there's processes for dealing with that shit, though. You know what I mean? Like we should challenge these action levels, but let's all understand it at the same time, because otherwise, lacks of understanding. Hell, would these guys have let shit go if they understood things in the widest sense? You know what I mean? Or do they just think that testing is BS? And since testing must be BS, I guess it's all the same stuff anyway. It's weird to get in somebody's head who's already gone that far.
How many people, honestly, being serious question here, Nate, really get sick from cannabis products, whether they're regulated or unregulated?
I was just having a conversation with my wife about this, about potential subjects for an upcoming broadcast that we're going to do. And it is the best area I can refer to is a 2016 case in Colorado where somebody went against the largest vertical integration in the state, saying, we found these guys had myclobutanol. That's a product called Eagle 20. We found these guys had myclobutanol inside of their products. You remember what myclobutanol does when you set it on fire? It turns into cyanide gas. That's spooky, right? So the judge sat there, apparently, I'm reading this all, of course, third hand, and the judge sat there and said, okay, that sounds reasonable. Show me, you with basically the gun in your hand, able to potentially make millions off the largest dispensary, the largest network of dispensaries and grows in the state of Colorado. Show me one case where you or somebody else has actually been damaged by Eagle 20 and products with it. And all I remember coming out of that case was hearing about a year after that, another news story follow-up saying, that got thrown out of court as everybody completely failed to provide any evidence that it was actually harmful. Now, I don't want to inhale cyanide gas. And through testing, I have the option of inhaling or not inhaling cyanide gas.
You also have the option you also have the option, one could say to smoke or not to smoke. Okay.
Absolutely.
But the reality, we don't care about our air quality as much as people are caring about what happens with the products when they're incinerated, when we light them on fire to inhale them. Okay.
There are numerous chemicals out there that are almost feel-good chemicals that just generally are non-harmful to humans, but you probably shouldn't be encouraging people to manufacture them because in some ways it's harmful to wildlife and marine life and stuff like that. Like there are even a couple of chemicals on our panel that when you look at the side effects, the proven ones, it reads like that. So it's really interesting when you consider these things because, I mean, you ask a golden question, you know, from a science perspective. I'm here to represent regulation and tell you what is and isn't there. Could you imagine a lab or a science guy doing anything other than exactly that, right? Like
the only time I can remember anything in all of history, Nate, and you brought up something that I wasn't aware of. But you know, the only time that I can remember anything was Vapegate, and they were trying to blame that on vitamin E acetate. But I think that if actual people really actually did some science, a lot of it was more based around the hardware that was actually that was causing those problems, as opposed to the vitamin E acetate. I would put money on that.
I think like most things we run into that deal in the world of health, science, and all that fun stuff, it's oftentimes a combination of multiple factors. You're not necessarily wrong. Porque no los dos.
And Dale, I see you. Dale, I see you kind of turning, you know, shaking your head a little bit. But let me kind of give you a little bit of insight on this hardware for what I'm talking about, is because there was this recycling manufacturer in China that started making vape carts, and they were making these vape carts out of the cheapest recycled metals that they could find in China. Okay. And that's how they were able to get this hardware so cheap that it was like no one had ever seen vape hardware this cheap in their life. And so they were using these subpar recycled contaminated metals in the hardware. And so I believe that it's because of that more than it is the vitamin E acetate. But, you know, I'm not a doctor nor a scientist, but I'm just a common sensicist.
Well, you're not a doctor or a scientist. That's the most important thing you said there.
I thought it was that I was a common sensicist.
Yeah, well, you can wish in one hand and shit in the other. This was proven to have been at least substantially related to vitamin E acetate, which was never meant to be vaporized and breathed into your lungs. And the knuckleheads that did that were out advertising this, they went silent. They jumped on a quick boat out of the country, and you never heard from these sumbitches again, because they knew, even though it's approved to be put on your skin, and they thought, oh, it's generally accepted as safe. Yeah, to rub on your skin, not to breathe into your lungs. Oh, and I'll just remind you of what Marcus Aurelius said. The opinions of 10,000 men are worthless if they know nothing on the subject.
That's fair. I'm not mad at that. But the one thing I do know that has caused serious damage to people is the use of Avid. I do know that for a fact. But nonetheless, on that, we're not going to stay on this train much longer. We're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back. Yes, and we are back, you guys. And man, I have a great story for you. You are going to love this. And just so you know, this story was requested by one of our viewers in the chat on yesterday's episode. But Stone, the Maine State Police, they raided a notorious Chinese cannabis hub in Fairfield, Maine. The Maine State Police, better known as the MSP, were part of a massive enforcement action on Wednesday against Yezi Craft Cannabis, aka Yezi USA LLC, a Norridge Walk road in Fairfield. A Chinese-controlled cannabis company with a checkered history and multiple disciplinary actions. Although the details of Wednesday's enforcement actions at 201 Norridge Walk Road are still filtering in, The location's history and ties to Chinese organized crime are apparent from public records from the Office of Cannabis Policy. Yezi Craft Cannabis and its related companies are a prime example of how Maine's labyrinth cannabis rules are no match for sophisticated criminal groups from out of the state. Enforcement records released by Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy shed light on how Chinese operators routinely exploit and subvert weaknesses in Maine's legal cannabis programs to continue profiting from their illegal schemes even after an attempted crackdown by regulators. In previous reports, the Maine Wire has documented how Johnny Wu and Jason Beck attempted to operate licensed marijuana businesses before veering into purely black market endeavors. Wu and Beck are no longer operating in Maine's cannabis sector, and at least not the legal side, but Shun Wang Ding and Xin Ching Ye, both associates of the Green Future LLC crew, appear to have kept their storefront business despite enforcement actions from the OCP. The Yezi location was purchased in September of 2021 and quickly converted into a combination marijuana grow and storefront, and almost immediately the operators clashed with the OCP. Yet every time licenses tied to Yezi were sanctioned or suspended, the owners would find a new name and a face to use a license at the location. According to the OCP disciplinary records, Yezi was not just operating above the limits or disregarding safety protocols. They were part of the vast prohibited collective that included locations throughout Lewiston, Auburn, and Turner, controlled by Green Future LLC, aka the Green Future Gang. In March of 2022, a letter revoking the license held by Shun Wang Ding OCP records show that the Turner location at 57 Conant Road was visited 4 times by the OCP staff as part of their investigation into whether it was part of a prohibited collective. In a quote, "The company Green Future LLC, which is neither a registered caregiver nor a registered dispensary, was running the property at 57 Conant Road as a dispensary, including treating the registered caregivers like employees by paying them a salary, such as your salary, which was $2,500 a month for trimming, controlling the registered caregiver assistants by paying them a salary directly, cultivating immature plants for all caregivers together and without delineating ownership, and controlling the transfers and sale of the registered caregivers' harvested marijuana," the Ding letter states. Ding had been a licensed cannabis grower since October of 2021, 1 month after Yezi USA Incorporated completed the purchase of 201 Norridge Walk Road. In a quote, "Your harvested marijuana was collected by people who were not your registered employees and pooled with harvested marijuana from other caregivers at this location and sold by other persons beyond your control or keeping any records of the sale," the OCP said in a letter to Ding. In a subsequent May 2022 letter to Shang Yi, the listed owner of Yezi Craft Cannabis, OCP revealed that Yi remained domiciled in New York the entire time he operated the business. As with Ding, OCP found Yi's blatantly illegal activity revolted in part around the Conant Road location. But Yi was found violating several rules concerning the cultivation and sale of cannabis at the Fairfield location, and along with multiple associates, including Yun Zhan Hang, Zhao Dong Zhang, Bowen Bai, Dostin Vianot, and Ali Lee. The letter alleges that Yi was involved in the removal, and it doesn't say purchase or theft, but removal of 1,100 pounds of cannabis flower from 57 Conant Road, product he brought to Fairfield without any records. At the time, Yi's license had expired, and in addition, the OCP found that Yezi was selling edibles without a food license, tobacco products without a tobacco license, and mislabeled food and cannabis products. OCP also found Yi purchased large amounts of cannabis from wholesale vendors without abiding by Maine's law, and enlisted various individuals who illegally assisted with this business endeavors. The OCP investigator found that the 5 wholesale transactions that you provided, 3 involving Iron Lung, Portland, Maine, the OCP investigated found that you had allowed a Bowen buy take receipt of all 3 deliveries. The OCP investigator found that Mr. Bai was not registered with the department as either a caregiver or a caregiver assistant, and when the OCP investigator requested a copy of Mr. Bai's photo ID, you advised through Mrs. Ali Lee that he had not worked for your company for a long time and that you were unable to contact him, the OCP letter states. According to the OCP, 3 of the wholesale purchases involving Iron Lung occurred when Yi did not have a valid license. And throughout Yi's entire time of operation, both legally and illegally, he most likely remained a full-time resident of New York, OCP said, implying that he fraudulently provided a Maine address when applying for his license. Yi also managed to obtain a Maine driver's license according to the records, and despite never becoming a resident of Maine. And at the time Yi first applied for a license in 2020, the OCP applicants were required to be residents of Maine, which Yi attested that he was, and the residency requirement was later stripped as a result of the judicial ruling, opening the door for several dozen Chinese individuals from out of state to obtain medical registrations as a cover for their cannabis operations. And that assessment relied on OCP investigators learning, among other things, that Yi was frequently in New York and had 2 children enrolled in the private school. And then there's this insert, you guys. There's this insert. Let me pull this up. Oh my goodness. Based on the following information, Investigator Lee believes that you have continued to be domiciled in New York State and that you are not a resident of the state of Maine. On February 14th, 2022, Investigator Lucy was informed by your sister-in-law, Ali Lee, that you are currently in New York and provided Investigator Lucy with your phone number, and they list the phone number. Investigator Lucy found that area code is generally used in Nassau County, New York, and on 2/22/22, you provided Investigator Lucy with your Maine driver's license, which was issued on 10/9/2020, and which listed your address as such and such, but your Maine's driver's license was issued a few weeks after your New York license, and this is just all of the proof, and I'm going to carry on. But in a quote, your Maine's driver's license was issued a few weeks after your New York driver's license. And these guys just keep on going on and on about all of this. But who, after being stripped of his license, appealed the decision, but when it came time for his hearing, he asked for a delay. And when it came time for his rescheduled hearing, he requested another delay. And at the 3rd attempted hearing, he did not appear. And OCP staff subsequently learned through informal channels that he had left the state. Throughout the entire time covered by the OCP letters, the Norwich Road property remained under the ownership of Yezi USA LLC and its sole director, Yi. And although the store shuttered from time to time, it has remained consistently open from 5 years, almost never attracting the kind of law enforcement scrutiny it saw today. That was yesterday, and this story will be updated when we obtain new information about the Maine State Police raid that happened on yesterday. And wow, China, you guys. What do you have to say about this? And just for the clarity, Yi is not known as a rapper for the purposes of this story. Not that Yi. It's a different
We just
Yi.
cover a story called The Bad Boys. It had all sorts of shit in their inventory they weren't supposed to have.
Yep.
Isn't this just the same thing?
No.
Except with a xenophobic twist to it?
I wouldn't call it a xenophobic twist. I'd call it China.
Well, you just made my point.
Just saying.
Just saying.
I mean, just because they're Chinese and they're doing crimes, I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just like shit kickers from Oklahoma doing crime.
I'm fine. Yeah, exactly.
Or
exactly.
The guys that represented on Murder Mountain or all over California.
I agree with that. I agree.
Stuff you put in the metric was destroyed and it's heading for New York.
I agree with that.
It's part of the game.
It is.
Unfortunately.
China. It's a big deal. A lot of people are wondering what's happening in Maine. Big raids. Taking lots of stuff. I wonder if they're actually going to seize the property, since this it sounds like this Chinese company owns the property. That's what I'm really wondering. What's going to happen with that?
It would be nice to know if there were more spelled out guardrails for people who just really sort of go as close as they can to the organized crime route for for cannabis. It would be interesting to know if there was something to expect, but I guess, is it almost kind of like stranger than fiction real life? I mean, Dale and guardrails doesn't even make sense because it's, I was listening to the story. It's just, I mean, obviously, it's a lack of guardrails is what kept screaming at me. And this is how far somebody went when there was a lack of guardrails. And by the way, this state has a lack of guardrails, how you get a driver's license as well.
Yeah.
So, this F up on this and this. And I don't know. It was run amok.
It's a very big
silly.
cluster. I agree with that. It's a very, very, very big cluster, you guys.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed in the decades I've been doing this is that cannabis attracts a lot of disagreeable people.
No
it's
way.
A personality trait. And so you put all the guardrails you want up, and there's still going to be people go, yeah, we'll hold my beer.
Mm-hmm.
And Forrest Gump can get around these goddamn rules. So it isn't even hard to do it. And I just keep telling people, why do you make more rules you cannot enforce? Why don't we greenlight this and let's please open it up and let the market take care of stuff, because this doesn't kill people, but it makes headlines, so I guess that's what we'll talk about, right?
Well, that is what we cover here on High 9 News is headlines, and this was a breaking headline that was requested by a viewer. Just saying. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts, Stone?
Just regulators finally, confronting organized out-of-state criminal networks, fucking taking advantage of loose oversight. So
fair enough. Fair enough. We shall see, and we'll keep you up to date on the story as new developments come in or people share them with us. And on that, we're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. And Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. But he is blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow. But he is honest, and he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinion, and anyone else that wants to identify as anything's opinion. And he'll show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. He is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Good morning. It's your favorite Tio Loco and Jason's favorite full of shit.
Yeah.
Here we go this morning. My story this morning comes out of Marijuana Moments from yesterday. And it's by Tom Angle. And I don't really know who this guy is, but
Tom Angel, I think is how you say his name.
Angel?
Yeah,
is
Angel.
That like
yeah.
Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Headline is White House touts Trump's marijuana rescheduling order the top win for his first year back in office. Okay. And it's like, okay, you got my attention here. So I took a look at this thing. And I'm happy to call out wins that Trump gets for us. Okay, I even praised Richard Nixon for things he did, even though I couldn't stand the son of a bitch. And I want to give props to Trump for, putting the word in there expeditiously for Pam Bondi. That I want you to expeditiously get this thing completed. But then for him to say, let me just get the language here so I don't get in trouble with Jason. He signed an executive order reclassifying marijuana to Schedule 3, accelerating medical research and patient access. And let me just point out that I tell you all the time, I was raised an Eisenhower Republican, and one of the things that was stuck in my memory is that lying was an ass-whipping offense. Okay? And that's a bold-faced lie right there. So I hope we get this move, but lying just doesn't work anymore.
What's the lie?
He did not, and shut up, I'm talking. He did not reclassify marijuana. No, he said, Pam, get on your fast horse and see if you can push this over the line. But this article points out that Bondi hasn't told us anything about what's going on inside of this rescheduling effort. DEA is saying, hey, we got an appeal process going on here from this prior language that we've already started hearing on. We don't know what the hell to do about now. So what I predicted a long time ago is that within the DOJ or the DEA, this is going to be stuck like molasses in January. Not going to go very far. And I'd like to see Trump and Bobby Kennedy just come in and say, here's the reports we need. I've covered some of them recently. This shows that there's current medical use. It is not a Schedule I drug. Stop it. It's not addictive like you try to say it is. And let's just truncate this and move to the next place. But I think, as we all know, whoever comes out on the top in this, people who lose are going to fight like crazy. So we do not have reclassification to Schedule III yet. I'm hoping it gets there. But, you know, I just point out that I read 1984 in high school. Okay, it was required reading. And the last phase of taking over was you're told, don't believe what you see or you hear, just believe what we tell you. Okay, and we went over that order. And it does not say reclassify. It says, Pam, expeditiously push this forward. I just want to point that out. I'm happy to give them props. God, I hope to get this thing moving somewhere. As 280E relief will follow if it gets reclassified. I'm not pushing for it, but it's something that will help a lot of people in the industry. But, you know, don't tell me that you've reclassified it because it's just patently false. Throw it back at you guys.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Dale. I get it. But, you know, and I think that is a fair criticism, because Pam Bondi does have to do this, or Bobby Kennedy needs to do it, or, you know what I mean, someone else needs to step up. But you know what? I think he can still tout this as a win, because he's the only president that has done and say, hey, get this done, you guys. Yes, you can say that Joe Biden kind of directed, but we all know that was a, you know, totally ridiculous process. And if he really wanted to get it done, he could have gotten it done within the time frame that he had left. But it was a cute, you know, placating piece, but it kind of set the stage for Trump to be able to do it. So I totally think Trump can totally take credit for this, because he's the one that took the direction. He actually signed an executive order directing this. Trump didn't, or Biden didn't sign any executive order mandating this. He just directed HHS to look into the review process. So again, I'm going to give Trump all the credit on that. And, you know, this is going to get done. Promises made, promises kept, and we'll see what happens before the end of January.
I'm not giving either one of them a win. On this. calling cannabis rescheduling a win before anything actually changes is just classic, man. It's cannabis is the classic carrot. They're not ready to let it go yet. It's all bullshit. This isn't a win for Trump. It's not a win for Biden. It's still, like Dale said, molasses in January. We're not going anywhere fast.
But you know, Stone, I mean, you don't think it's a win for the people?
No.
You don't think it's weed for the people, huh? Interesting.
I don't think it's weed for that. I think it's still, we don't know what the hell it is, you know? But it's not Schedule I.
Yeah.
There's that, but it is still Schedule I.
Yeah.
So it's not a win.
It is, but it isn't,
win.
you know,
nothing has happened. Hey, if you believe this is a win, Biden let a lot of people out of fucking prison for
Oh, Biden did. No one was released. No one was released from that, Stone.
Exactly. And scheduling hasn't changed. This isn't a win for anybody yet. It's nothing. It's nothing but bullshit in the air right now.
It's a nothing burger. You're saying, Stone.
Nothing burger. Big old empty nothing burger.
Big old empty nothing burger. Man, Dale, he's pretty harsh today, Dale.
Well, no. When you say something that's patently untrue. Okay, I mean, it's like, don't tell me he didn't say that, because that's why I read it to you. Mm-hmm. He didn't reclassify. I'm trying to be as kind as I can here. I hope he can kick some people in the ass and get this moving forward. It needs to go somewhere besides where it is right now. But what I've experienced since this goddamn law was signed back in 1970 is they'll drag their feet, like Stone said. They do not want to give up this. This is a cash cow for them. They don't want to give it up. And it's going to take someone like Trump to go in there and thump them over the head.
Yeah.
But right now, I'd like to know what's going on. I mean, Pam, tell us what's going on. Oh, and by the way, let's release the Epstein files too. How about that?
I'm all for that. I'm all for releasing those files. I'm totally all about that.
All for them, though.
Well, you know what? I think it's going to happen, and I think there's other things that are going on that that are going to play itself out. But I think ultimately these things are going to be released, and all in due time. And you know, one thing that we have to keep in mind is there's a lot of things that are happening that we are not aware of that are happening behind the scenes. And so, you know, I believe that those things all are going to be released, and this is all going to get done. And you know, I'm just hopeful that it happens within the timeline of what has already been outlined.
Well, they've already got a court order. If they were told they've got to produce them, come on, man. Don't play word games with us. They're already well over the time they're supposed to.
Me play word games? Come on.
Yeah, you.
I don't play words with friends.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
When I laugh, I start coughing, so don't do that to me.
I'm sorry. I'm a funny, Dale. Sorry. I'm
You're
humorous.
lucky I love you, dude.
I love you so much, Dale. Trust me.
I know. We'll work this out, but you know, don't try to blow smoke up my ass.
Easy there. Not trying to do no boofing in any type of a sense. You know what I'm saying, Dale? You don't have to worry about that. But you know, Trump is the GOAT, man. Trump is the GOAT. And then, you know what I'm saying? Maybe one of the things that need to happen in order for Schedule 3 to be enacted is that we had to take control of Greenland. And it looks like we're going to get Greenland.
Oh, please.
I'm just saying, maybe it's the green land, Dale. It's the land of the green. Just saying, it's the land of the green.
I listened to what he said yesterday, and I think they need to take his keys away and give him some medication and give him a shawl and a blanket.
It's time to put this one to pasture, dude.
Oh, man.
I've never seen Sleepy Joe asleep at the wheel, and this guy is asleep at the wheel.
Nah, stop it, bro. He is driving the car at 100 miles an hour, and people just can't keep up with him.
High on cocaine.
It's so great. It's so great. Oh man, it's so awesome. We're gonna get Greenland, you guys. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a territory. It's not gonna get to be a state, but it's gonna get to be a territory. But nonetheless,
let's keep talking about green instead of the green land.
I love the green. And on that, we're gonna go into some ads that are playing currently on Fox News involving the boss.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
And stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And make sure that you are please following us on X and Rumble, because those are the safest platforms on the internet.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
We are back, and we are going to roll right in to the man from one of the reddest states who harbors himself in the Blue Lagoon. He loves to wear hats and polka dot shirts from time to time. And oh, look, he got some polka dot something on there. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily dots, but he's got something poking around over there. It is the man who loves tumbleweed, Mr. Stone Slade. Yeah, Texas.
Out of here. What's the matter with you? Welcome to the ATX, baby. Right in the middle of Texas. All right. Time to serious it up here a little bit.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
For decades, we've talked about THC and CBD as if they were the whole story, the beginning, the middle, and the end of cannabis chemistry. But new research suggests those compounds are actually the end result of a much longer, messier, and far more interesting evolutionary journey. Scientists in the Netherlands have now gone back millions of years, not with fossils, but with genetics, to reconstruct ancient cannabis enzymes and figure out how the plant first learned to make cannabinoids at all. And what they found should permanently change how we think about cannabis. The study published in the Plant Biotechnology Journal comes from researchers at the Wageningen University of Research, one of the world's leading agricultural science institutions, and I butchered that name. Instead of studying modern plants alone, the team used ancestral DNA modeling to rebuild cannabinoid producing enzymes that existed long before THC or CBD became dominant. What they discovered is that early cannabis wasn't precise, it was adaptable. Modern cannabis plants rely on highly specialized enzymes. One enzyme makes THC, another makes CBD. Each does its job efficiently and narrowly, like a factory assembly line, but that wasn't always the case. According to the researchers, ancient cannabis enzymes were far more flexible. These early molecular tools could take a singular precursor compound and turn it into multiple cannabinoids at once. THC and CBD, as we know them today, didn't appear overnight. They emerged gradually as genes duplicated and enzymes became more specialized through natural selection. In other words, modern cannabis chemistry is the result of refinement, not intention. The team didn't just theorize this, they proved it. By synthesizing reconstructed ancient enzymes in the lab, researchers showed that many of them produced a mix of cannabinoids rather than a single dominant one. The evolutionary flexibility, long assumed to be unfinished, turns out to be incredibly valuable. And here's where things get really interesting. When researchers express these ancient enzymes inside microbial systems, the same kind used in pharmaceutical biotech, they found that the reconstructed enzymes were more stable, more adaptable, and easier to work with than modern cannabis enzymes. That surprised even the scientists. What once seemed evolutionary, unfinished, turns out to be highly useful, said Robin Van Velsen, who led the study alongside of Chloe Villiard. And that opens doors not just for THC or CBD, but for cannabinoids most consumers have barely heard of. One reconstructed enzyme stood out. Unlike the others, it showed a strong preference for producing, cannabiocream. Is that it there, Nathan? Cannabiocream? I don't know if you know that one. Or CBC. Cannabinoid researchers have linked to anti-inflammatory and analgesic effects. Here's the problem with CBC. Modern cannabis plants barely make it. There's currently no cannabis plant with a naturally high CBC content, said Van Velsen. But by introducing this ancient enzyme into engineered systems, or potentially even into future cannabis cultivars, researchers believe reliable, scalable CBC production may be possible. That matters especially as medical research proves that beyond the THC and CBD binary and into a more nuanced understanding of the plant's full chemical toolkit. There's something poetic about all of this in a time when lawmakers are still arguing over whether cannabis is dangerous, addictive, or somehow unnatural. Scientists are uncovering evidence that this plant has been experimenting, adapting, and refining its chemistry for millions of years. THC and CBD weren't accidents. They weren't modern inventions, and they certainly weren't mistakes. They were outcomes. The study is part of a growing trend in biotechnology, using evolutionary history as a roadmap for modern innovations. By resurrecting enzymes long lost to time, researchers may have unlocked an entirely new way to produce cannabinoids, discover new therapeutic combinations, and solve manufacturing challenges that have plagued the industry for years. Sometimes progress doesn't come from inventing something new. Sometimes it comes from remembering what already worked. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News.
Wow, Stone, man, you sounded like me on a Friday sometimes, right there.
Woo! Sometimes I'm stumbling.
Yeah, man. I feel like Stone. I think you should have ended your story with saying, "And Nate, this bud was for you."
Nate, this bud was for you.
There we go. Yeah.
Appreciate the handoff. So cannabichromine, that's an interesting one right there. So we've got a pretty interesting just lineup of what this ultimately means. That's such an interesting story, and I didn't realize that THC and CBD and some of the better known cannabinoids had such a freestyle approach with ancient styles of enzymes. So interesting. The other thing that came to mind is when you hear this much work being done, especially with all of these different enzymatic approaches, man, somebody is just dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into this. That is an insane undertaking in the lab world. for things that are on the research end, and to hear that people are digging out ancient enzymatic, not really compounds, but ancient enzymatic practices or ways of building things is absolutely mind-blowing. You're right. It's going to change, I think, how cannabis processing on certain stages, especially in sort of a future market, gets looked at, and how certain cannabinoids that we thought were sort of difficult and luck of the draw almost to have been able to gather one day, and it's only through serious amount of work that they become common. This might actually be steps to where, I don't know, almost think about like a cannabis stem cell. It's not really a great, comparison, but it's something that could be potentially anything when you think about this. So really exciting stuff.
I thought about intellectual property.
Yeah.
Someone's dumping that kind of money into this. They're looking to get something on for an ROI.
Yep.
And it's one of the concerns we've had for a long time. And I'm sure Nate understands this, but for the general public, pharmaceutical machinery can manufacture almost any cannabinoid you can conceive of right now. Okay? But it's a difficult process. It's costly, things like that. If you could amend the DNA, and I mean, these are things that they'll have to look at, whether they use splicer or however they do that, to tell the plant we're gonna produce cannabichromene now, or THCV or something like that as your dominant. Is that now something that the developer can get a patent on? Because it doesn't really exist today. These are the questions that come up in my mind, because at some point someone's going to make a lot of money. If it turns out that CBC is a better analgesic than CBD, and perhaps that would fit within a Schedule III model. I mean, there are things here that I'm trying to imagine. I don't understand where this is going, whether Schedule III is actually going to be real, it's going to be kicked over to the alcohol model or some combination of that. But we've always thought that THC and CBD were the big guns, and it's possible that others are more effective at certain things. So, I'm just, who's going to get control of this is my concern.
Oh, ultimately, it's the people should be in control of this and be able to do it. You know what I mean? Power to the people on this
one. Work at the patent office, though.
Yeah, well, what this is the thing is if you're gonna get a compound patented, that's gonna be a big pharma thing. They're gonna be the ones that'll do that, and as soon as they hear about that individual, that's gonna be them. They're gonna go and try to see how they can reverse engineer it and then add a little something then. So then
that's exactly what I was thinking. You're just all you're looking for is another means of synthesis. Then
exactly.
That's not you're not. Yeah. That's barking up a weird tree. We've not yet seen anybody trying to isolate genetics or a certain product
we did
outside of
Phylos.
What's that?
Phylos.
Refresh my memory. What did
Phylos was that company that was like, oh, let's do this this mapping and trace your plant's lineage and and then basically they had the whole genome profile of all these plants, and they basically in essence own that IP. They stole everybody's genetics.
I think I do remember seeing that and seeing the publication on one hand. Just to reflect on that, that's a really good point. Stand corrected, and I think that's a good area to point out that somebody did manage to do this huge amount of data cropping and grab it. On the other side of things, at least from the industrial side, I haven't seen anything done with that information for a dozen plus years.
The thing about with data though, Nate, especially that type of data. That data could sit on a shelf for 10 or 20 years until the technology advances itself to where it's actually usable and tangible. The reality is that it's there, and that ultimately someone is going to use it, and they're going to pay a hefty price to use it, and people are going to get screwed.
I think it's the notion of it personally is a little bit before its time. There are other much more easily accessible means of being able to gather information on and classify the cannabis plant that people are now in real time starting to be able to gather. And that's going to, in my idea, way wash over so many of these other things, like what you've pointed out with Phylos. Now, that's just an opinion, but for instance, to give you a little bit of information, nobody has proper flavor tracking of cannabis through a chemical means. All we have is the ability to track things like terpenes and cannabinoids. But the problem with that is that a cookies strain and a runts strain and one of those candy strains and oftentimes something like GMO will all have the exact same cannabinoid and terpene structure, which tells you from a predictive sense, jack squat. You're not able to gather anything because cannabis science has been maxed out in terms of being able to determine what these chemical quality indicators actually are. You need to be able to read things such as, deep breath, flavonoids and thiols and ketones and lactones. That's where those milky, creamy flavors come from, and tannins and esters and so on and so forth before you'll get anywhere close. I can give you a great example. How many different strains out there are dominated by banana flavor? Well, banana flavor doesn't ever come up in a terpene test, or cannabinoids, obviously, because it's not a terpene. It's actually an ester. It's called isoamyl acetate. It's fun as hell to say, and it's a chemical that actually gives you the opportunity to trace, if we tested and studied it in cannabis, what the prevalence of banana strains in the market would be.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Nate, about banana strains. There's only one banana. There's only one banana strain that anyone should pay attention to, and that's Golden State banana.
Those guys are nice. I like Nick a lot.
Much love to Nick.
Moving along, until we have the opportunity to test all of those various and very important compounds going way beyond the terpene profile, we won't actually have a really good read of what actually gives cannabis its actual flavor, and we won't be able to trace it from a market sense. The same way that you can trace market trends in virtually every other mainstream product that's out there, you can't do in cannabis because we don't actually have the chemical indicators to do it. Let that sink in for a minute.
What do you got to say about that, Stone?
Oh, I couldn't wait for Nate to open up the can on this one.
Open up a can of bananas?
Open up the can of bananas. Hey, it's cool science, so I was excited when I found this article. You know,
it is very cool.
It is cool. And being able to break the plant down like that. Like, I remember listening to Todd McCormick talking about how, you know, one day we're going to get to a point where we realize, you know, we can figure out what cannabinoids we're low on, and there's going to be like a multivitamin type of a way to, I need these cannabinoids or whatever, you know, to like a multivitamin.
Why not just take an IV, bro? Just take an IV of cannabinoids. The rush.
Because it's lipophilic. That's why it'll kill you. Go ahead.
Man.
Do that.
Oh, Dale, you party.
Dale. They're going to figure out a way, Dale. If there's a will, there's a way. Okay. There's a will, there's a way.
Wrap it in a lipoprotein,
you know,
in your gut.
We used to smoke cannabis out of tin cans, Dale. When there's a will, there's a way. Toilet paper rolls, there's a will, there's a way, buddy. There's
all the
things. You didn't inject it into your bloodstream.
Yeah,
come on, dude.
Man, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
I'm gonna
get all the CBCs just instantly. Look at that.
Nate, I think it went over his head. I don't know what to tell you.
Stop it. You guys are funny, man. You guys are funny.
In the next universe.
You know, on that, we're gonna roll into our next commercial, and we are gonna be right back. What'd you do the stream? Maybe it doesn't need to get refreshed. Let me try another one. Oh yeah, it's not working. We need you to play, Gabriel. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever you did to the stream deck, maybe it needs to get refreshed. Yep. There we go. Let's see.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
No.
No, you gonna go and start sleeping with the cows for heat?
Yeah. I live downtown. What are you talking about?
Oh man! And on that, we're gonna roll right into Mr. Nate Winokur. Nate is a really smart guy who had a lab and then was unjustly prosecuted by the California DCC and forced to give up his license for no real reason other than the state just said that that's what you got to do. But Nate, being a man of character and of strong will, he said, hey, you know what, state? Go screw yourself. And here, take this crap. I don't need it. And I'm going to start teaching the public about all the BS in testing with my new series, Teaching Bud. And now Nate is teaching the world about cannabis and the nuances in testing, and it is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, everybody. And the story today that I'm bringing you is on the science and tech side of things. The world's first AI-driven cannabis seed sorting system.
Get ready,
is
Stone.
here.
Get ready, Stone. This is for you, buddy.
CEO and co-founder of Nexo, Dominique Van Grusen, leads one of Europe's most advanced cannabis research and development facilities, where cultivation science meets pharmaceutical precision. Nexo is a Dutch cannabis contract research organization that designs and conducts cultivation and technology trials for clients across the cannabis sector, helping companies test innovations under controlled data-rich conditions. We're looking at his impressive career in cannabis, spanning 2 decades and encompassing Belgian patient advocacy and clinician networks, as well as European biotech lobbying and cultivation consulting on both sides of the Atlantic. Van Grusen's goal is ambitious: to take cannabis beyond cultivation and into a world of validated data, reproducible genetics, and true pharmaceutical reliability, which demands consistency. So how do you do that? Based in Metternich, a village in the Netherlands, Nexo is conducting independent trials on lighting, nutrients, and genetics in an effort to generate measurable, reproducible data that brings cultivation closer to pharmaceutical standards. And through some key partnerships, they've come up with some profound techniques. The research center is currently working with Las Vegas lighting company Foes, examining how precision lighting from their Cobra LED system affects plant structure, cannabinoid expression, and energy efficiency. We're using the Cobra Pros, and soon we'll have tunable spectrum models from Foch, Van Grusen says. They have sensors that constantly read the natural light in the greenhouse and adjust automatically. If we can work with a dynamic spectrum that mirrors the sun, we can replicate the same conditions anywhere on Earth in any season. Now, to step to the side of that, how lighting is figured out mostly now, because of course spectrum is important, and of course people are trying to replicate known and readable conditions. It's much more blocky and clumsy than that. It's not typically a constantly modified spectrum. It's much more like, here is the approximate spectrum that shows the best results when growing plants. So for something that's able to observe the plants, adjust, and then continue to monitor and express a spectrum is pretty interesting. So that's sort of where this is heading. The study benchmarks a range of metrics, from cannabinoid and terpene expression to morphology and energy use, to quantify how light affects consistency. Their system fills your stack with data, Van Grusen says. That's what we're after. Information that lets us build validated cultivation models rather than assumptions. Lighting defines the environment. Genetics define the foundation. To address that, Nexo partnered with sister companies Innovins Seed Solutions and Sexo to develop, wait for it, the world's first AI-driven seed sorting system for cannabis. They collect the spectral data of each seed in a non-destructive way, Van Grusen says. Then they grow that seed, record its traits, feed those traits back into the system, and the algorithm learns which spectral patterns predict which plant characteristics. When he first heard of that technology, Van Grusen says, I literally pulled my car over to call people. Tests confirmed it worked for cannabis, opening the door to non-destructive quality control certification at a seed level. If there's something you can distinguish, you can design a seed sorting algorithm and push a batch through to separate the good from the bad, he says. The implications of this technology stretch beyond yield. AI analysis can detect pathogens such as hop latent viroid, which is also nuts, and certify genetic quality before cultivation begins. Companies are developing F1 hybrids, stabilized lines, Van Grusen says. By scanning the seeds, you can fine-tune even further so your starting material is as robust as it can be. Van Grusen believes AI-based seed fingerprinting could also reduce the industry's dependence on cloning. Even when you use clones, you still find big deviations in secondary metabolites depending on the season or humidity, he says. It's very difficult to provide a consistent product in flower form. Regulatory frameworks, he notes, demand pharmaceutical precision. It's not wrong. When regulators say cannabis has to be a medicine, they mean it should be 98 to 102% consistent with what's on the label, he says. That's frighteningly, that's essentially accurate. We see greater variations in some areas, but depending on what's on the label, you only have a very thin area of margin of error. So if something doesn't match that thin margin of error, sometimes 10,000 products need to get reskinned and printed. Like, that's not small, and that's slow, and that's expensive, and stuff isn't as fresh, and it doesn't sell through as well, and holy crap, right? So that's almost impossible with a natural product. I can't underline that enough, guys. When you have an orange tree, some oranges are dry, some oranges are juicy, some oranges are in the middle. When you have a cannabis plant or a cannabis crop, some cannabis buds are juicy, some cannabis buds are underdeveloped and don't really hit, some cannabis buds are in the middle. It's the nature of a plant. But with solid F1 hybrid genetics, he says, from start to seed, you add another quality control checkpoint. For cultivators, F1 seeds offer cleaner starts, lower costs, and easier scalability. For patients, they promise reliability, the same genetics, the same relief every time. Anybody who's a frequent smoker knows that there is a fair amount of genetic drift, and no matter how much you love one strain, it might not always be the same the next time. Van Grusen describes Nexo as a link between two sectors that rarely speak the same language. Growers talk in grams per square meter, he says. Pharma talks in validated data sets and deviation tolerances. We sit in the middle, making those conversations possible. That bridge extends beyond technology. And Nexo is also reviving iconic legacy cannabis genetics, long flowering, terpene-rich cultivars, and reintroducing them through advanced lighting and AI-guided cultivation. He aims to right some of the wrongs that the industry has made. We took a lot of wrong turns with cannabis in the last 20 years. Also not wrong. He says, he also says, it's time to rediscover what has made this plant valuable in the first place and do it with proper science. A few statements after my own heart. What else can I say? You guys got a little bit of my secondary thoughts as we went through. Feel free to ask away if there's anything else going on there. I'm happy to try to fill in some of those blanks. Exciting from every side. They essentially suggested that there's two different areas that AI is coming out with cannabis, one in reviewing plants via lighting and adjusting in real time, and one in simply not even knowing necessarily what they're looking for. It essentially states in the article, just simply scanning through a non-invasive means, so such as infrared, or there may be a few other means that they have available to them, what ultimately leads to a certain type of plant versus another. Is it the size? Is it a certain color? Is it a certain look of the seed? Is it all of these things and probably dozens and dozens of factors more? Hell yeah, it's pretty cool. So back to you guys. I'm obviously, over the moon in terms of excitement with all of this discussion on cannabis technology today. So what do you guys think?
Well, Stone, I think this relates to your story, and this is the AI overlords that are going to take over cannabis, and you're only going to have digital dank to smoke in the future. I think you're on mute, Stone. I think you're on mute. Yep.
I was so many screens away from Discord, and I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good, buddy.
I'm coming.
We know you are.
Great story. Interesting story, man.
Yeah.
Super cool. Hopefully, no, we don't go to just digital weed, Jason. But yeah, man, that's awesome. I don't know what to say. That is above my.
Well, here's my first thought: is this technology? It sounds like it is made specifically for indoor cultivation. It doesn't sound like it can actually be applied to outdoor cultivation.
Seed selection would go everywhere. The lighting would also actually be good in the event that we're discussing.
It's not gonna force the clouds to move. It's not gonna force the clouds to move for outdoor grows so that it can get better light.
You can study what spectrum is coming through the cloud still, because you have some of your light and some of your spectrum, and then you can figure out mathematically what to supplement it with.
So outdoor weed needs to be supplemented more than indoor weed, you're telling me?
Well, if we're talking about the supplemental lighting, which is like the equivalent of a greenhouse with additional lighting for your proverbial cloudy days.
Stone sees where I'm going.
We're on it.
Stone sees where I'm going right there. Right now, I could totally see. Stone knows exactly where I'm going with this. This is another reason why indoor weed is far superior to outdoor weed. Just another reason. Because of technology like this, and this is the way that the industry is going to be going, because everybody wants everything.
Into your agenda, brother.
Everything.
So what I've got here is real information. Yes, it would be specifically helpful to outdoor weed. And no, outdoor weed is not the same level of lab-controlled conditions that you have with indoor cannabis. Like so many other things, there's pros and cons to every last aspect of it.
This is very, very, very interesting. Very, very. Dale, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I do. I was part of the Appalachians program here in California.
Mm-hmm.
And they would shit their pants over this story.
Yeah.
Because they want nothing but all natural, all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
And I get that. But when you have the longer range discussion of how long is indoor weed going to be economically viable, except for very specialty products, they don't have an answer for that, because when this really goes green everywhere, and they're going to open this up for cultivation outdoors for big crops, and I think Nate hit something. They'll be able to pick out of a lot of seeds the ones they think that are phenotypically most likely to do what they want to do, help enhance it. Down the road, we have indoor cultivation because it could catch you growing outdoors. And then that turned into all sorts of things here. But, if you're spending more money on electricity and your facilities than you're making from the weed, something's going to have to give. And that's what I see as the long-term future of weed. It'll be grown in large plots. And the cheap weed will be available everywhere. And the guy buying, a nickel bag isn't going to give a shit if it smells like bananas or, did it get him high? Yeah. And off we go.
Maybe he's just going to go to the, to the health food supplement place and just, mainline some THC, Dale. A little IV drip.
Well, they'll develop a strain with melatonin to help you sleep at night or something like that.
Yeah. Stone, this tech could be coming to Big Texas, bro. Very, very possibly. For all those hemp varietals, those indoor hemp varietals that I know you love to smoke.
I don't. Oh God! One of these days,
don't dignify it, Stone. Don't fall into the trap, man.
I'm coming to LA in May, Jason. I'm gonna have to come track you down wherever you scurried off to.
Come on down to Orange County, bro. Come on down to Orange County. It's so much better down here. So much better down here.
I'll come see you. I know you can't get away from me, so I'm gonna take advantage of that.
I'm with that, bro. I would love to have you down here, Stone, and we can do amazing Orange County things and not have to worry about potholes or bad infrastructure or homeless transients peeing and pooping everywhere. It'd be great. You know what I mean? But on this one, I have one final story for you, and this is and you know what, we've had some down stories in the beginning and some optimistic stories in the middle, and I'm going to end this show on a good note. I think this is good. This is some progress too. Dale, you're going to love this, because a Georgia bill would ban police from searching cars based on marijuana smell alone. And here's what we know so far. Local law enforcement warns that legislation would hamper crime-fighting efforts, but a high-speed chase in Houston County this week has renewed debate over whether police should use the smell of marijuana as a grounds to search vehicles. Deputies stopped a driver on Sunday night for a broken taillight, according to the Houston County Sheriff's Office. And when a deputy detected the odor of marijuana, the driver fled. After a pursuit ended with a pit maneuver, deputies found marijuana and crack cocaine. And under a bill pending at the Georgia Capitol, that search would be illegal. House Bill 496, introduced by State Representative Jasmine Clark, a Democrat from Atlanta, would prohibit law enforcement from using the smell of marijuana, cannabis as hemp as the sole basis for stopping, searching, or arresting someone. In a quote, "It's a common sense bill, and I think it would save lives," said Corey Lowe, executive director of Peachtree Normal and former DeKalb County police officer. Lowell said the smell test gives officers too much discretion and creates distrust between police and communities. In a quote, I'd even had a deputy say, "You'll smell like pounds and pounds and pounds," Lowell said. "Can you smell my weight? You can't smell, and it's subjective." But Byron Police Chief Wesley Cannon said removing that tool would be dangerous. "Why would you want to limit us in our ability to use one of our God-given senses to sniff out crime? If you've ever been around marijuana, it's got a distinct smell." Cannon described the recent incident when he smelled marijuana outside a grocery store at 7:30 a.m. and he detained 4 men for smoking a joint in the parking lot. A consent search revealed methamphetamines, and 2 had felony warrants from Atlanta. "If I weren't able to use my sense of smell, could I have done anything further?" Cannon said. The debate has become more complicated since Georgia legalized hemp in 2019, and hemp and marijuana smell identical, but only marijuana remains illegal in Georgia. Clark introduced similar legislation last year, but it was never scheduled for a committee hearing, and Lowe said lawmakers need to listen to constituents on both sides before making a decision. The bill comes as the federal government recently rescheduled marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance, even though that actually hasn't happened yet, but this article is claiming that it has. But Georgia courts currently allow the smell of marijuana as probable cause for searches, you guys. Well. Sounds like some big changes are happening down there in the peach state of Georgia, and this is just one peach of a story. What do y'all have to say about this?
I heard that they took out 4 dudes on their way to work right there who were trying to smoke out a little bit before going on the work site. So
how do you know they were going to work? How do you know that they were going to work?
Generally 4 dudes, and this is just me, and also, owning,
your profiling.
Well, this is in some ways, yes, because I own the equivalent of a company that works alongside like construction companies. It's like worksite cleanup and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I know when 4 guys are standing in a parking lot at 7:30 a.m. smoking a joint, they're about to go to a work site. That is, to me, I mean, maybe you know of other scenarios, but I'm going to put
I could think of a lot of other scenarios.
4 out of 5 dentists would agree with me on this one.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Cop got lucky on the crack fine, but illegal search, right?
Yeah, crack and meth is all. Yeah, that's way too prevalent, apparently.
Don't break more than 1 law at a time. Okay, you shouldn't have crack in your car if you're smoking joint in the parking lot and the sheriff's right there. Like,
first of all,
your mom ever tell you?
These guys don't. These 4 assailants don't sound like traditional weed smokers to me. They sound.
What?
Yeah, no. They sound like transient drug addicts. That's what it sounds like to me. And they just happened to be smoking weed, and weed happened to be the scapegoat that got them in there. But it sounds like these guys were some bad hombres up to no good. So I'm not buying that these guys had jobs. It sounds like these guys were looking for cars to break into because they found methamphetamine and crack cocaine.
No, it sounds like they were heading for a roofing job or something.
They were looking to bip whatever cars were in the grocery store parking lot.
Probably bought a couple of sixers of beer for the drive over and crossfading, as you like to say. I'm not buying it. I think these were some criminals that were looking for an opportune moment to smash and grab some car windows and steal some ladies' purses.
After smoking a joint and expressing that you're there using a smoke trail.
Yep.
I don't know. I know what it sounds like when four guys are on their way to work and that cop kind of screwed up those guys' day, especially whichever dude had a meth problem. I hope that guy receives the help he needs.
Well, it sounds like two of them.
Every drywaller I've ever met has a meth problem.
That's when I say four dudes, likely from different places, like on their way to a construction site. So I know what that sounds like. I know what that looks like. I have crews that do that at 7:30 a.m. before going to a work site because they're smarter than doing that on work site. And of course, if they feel like they're going to smoke a joint, they're going to smoke a joint.
Well, here's the thing, Dale. I mean, by your logic, Dale, what you're saying is that no one should ever let a drywaller in their home because otherwise they're letting meth addicts run rampant around their house and they're probably going to steal shit.
You need to work for a smoke shop for a minute, bro. Like this is interlaced into society in a very interesting way, and you see people from all across the spectrum.
Well, do you remember the movie? What was it? I think it was it Blood In, Blood Out? Do you remember that? When the guy, he's like methamphetamine, it's America's cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's definitely the West Virginia mating call, brother. I've got
the West Virginia mating call.
Got Irish out there, yeah.
Oh man, you guys, man. Well, on that, this story was fun, and it is some good news. Hopefully, this legislation advances. It probably won't, though, because it's introduced by a Democrat. But we'll see. You never know. Stranger things have happened. They've had a lot of election fraud out there, so there might be enough Democrats to actually get something passed by a Democrat in Atlanta and Georgia. But time will tell. It's just the truth. It's just the truth, Stone. It's just the truth. They Georgia was the epitome of a lot of that election fraud. But on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high at noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents up there for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show, patented and trademarked.